Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is G here and I'm with my girl Linda.
Hey there.
We have been having so much fun about all the videos that we're going to be doing together, and you guys really like our videos, so we're going to do more of them.
Yeah.
Make sure you comment, subscribe, all of the things so that we know that you guys are interested and we'll keep doing videos. Today, this actually came up on one of the last videos we did.
Yeah.
And we mentioned softness. And in regards to dating, and she's from Africa, she's from Uganda, I'm Black American, and one thing we hear men in America talk about is that American women aren't very soft. I have so much to say about this. And they compare us to other women in other countries who they say are more soft, and African women are definitely one of those groups of women. So guys, subscribe to my channel, and we're about to have a very funny and interesting chat.
My clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings and it's still not as sensitive as some of these bitch-ass men out here. He's the pussy hole.
So, you know where I'd like us to begin?
Tell me.
How do you describe softness? What is softness to you in a woman?
I'm going to tell you how I describe softness, and then I'm going to tell you how I think men describe softness. Okay. Because I think it's two different things.
Okay.
For me, I see a woman as soft when she is fully comfortable in whatever life it is she's leading. Because I think that is when a woman actually is able to release into herself and be her full embodied self. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a prescription as something that has something to do with men. I think that when a woman is soft, it's when she is fully confident, fully embodying whoever it is she is, and that allows her to sit in whatever her definition of femininity is for herself. That's what I think.
I love your definition of softness. Well, for me, softness, in the way the society now, especially now, understands it, is I see softness as being natural and leaning more to your leaning into your femininity, and being the natural and the one who is vulnerable. Vulnerability for me also comes with softness, being able to let go, being able to, I don't want to call it surrender, but being able to accept to accept, how should I put it? To be able to accept to be given. Does that make sense? To be the receiver. To be open to receiving, if that makes sense. Which sounds like surrender. I don't like the word surrender. For some reason, I don't like how that sounds.
Because it sounds like submit.
Submit, which there is nothing wrong with submission if that's your cup of tea. So for me, that's what softness is for me. Being open and free to leaning into that femininity side, which can come out also on the external, not just from the inside, but also externally, being soft in the literal word of soft, not being hard-hearted.
Yeah, and I think that in society's imagination, that is what they see softness is.
But you don't think it's what it is? No. Okay.
I think that when I hear and see men saying that they want a soft woman, they want a woman who can take abuse. Because where in society, even in this imagination of softness, where in society are women reveled for being that really? We're reveled for being strong, for carrying all the loads, for doing all the things, but we're not.
But you see, that's why I think
revered. A
soft woman is going to accept that you don't have to be strong all the time.
But you don't have to be, but people want you to be.
Do they though?
Yes.
Or do you think that they think that they want you to be?
I think that
because when it comes to this very controversial topic, and guys, disclaimer, we are not here to compare an African American man to the African man. We want to make this very clear, because whenever this topic is discussed from all the platforms I've seen it, it always looks like a comparison. Who is the better woman? There is no better woman.
No.
We are all women.
Yeah.
We are all.
We were raised different. We have different
Yes.
cultures. And
this goes for all women,
Yeah,
even not
yeah.
just black women.
Yeah.
Everyone is raised the way they are raised, and that's what you're going to project. So,
Yeah.
disclaimer, and this is a very important disclaimer because we don't want people being, funny in the comment section thinking we're trying to, compare.
No. Yeah.
So, back to what we were saying. And I think when they talk about the African woman, for the people who think that the African woman is softer, it's because she knows and doesn't want to always be strong. Don't get me wrong, circumstances can lead you to being strong even when you don't want to. But for me, this whole strong black woman, it's not that the society really wants us to be, but we are forced to be.
I think we've been forced to be, and that has become the expectation.
But you can change that narrative, though. You can choose softness.
But I think that women are trying to more often choose, but I feel like a lot of women, when they try to be soft, they can't deal with men. Because men put burdens on you that make you not be soft. And
then they start to look at it as a weakness.
Exactly. Because if for example, I've had people be like, oh, you're a strong woman. I'm like, you need to get away from me. Because anytime someone decides that you are strong, they're going to give you more shit to do.
Exactly.
Because
that's what strong people do.
Exactly.
You're strong enough to take it.
Exactly. And I think particularly Black American women have had that burden for a really long time to be strong. And
why do you think there's that narrative about the Black American woman being strong? And why do you think people think or feel like the African woman may be softer? Whatever your definition of softness.
Yes. I think that Black American women, and this was one thing we started to talk about a little bit, Black American women have always, in the United States, worked and had to help carry their men, right? So in the regard of the history of America, Black American women have always had to just stand up sometimes and be on the front lines with the men. They worked in the fields with the men. They had to always kind of have this level of physicality even with men in work and everything. So I think that the burdens also in the United States with racism and all of the other things that have happened to Black women particularly, being, assaulted, being, having to be brood mares, basically. Those are all burdens that they had to be strong through.
Do you think that it has made the Black American woman take up the traditional male roles and so be seen as masculine without trying to sound offensive?
I think that, especially in the United States, it's not just about being the male roles. It's always have been about being compared directly to white women. White women did nothing, and they got to be on, pedestals for doing nothing. They got to be, sitting there, quote unquote, femininity. And sometimes they weren't that feminine in respect to
Black woman.
Well, in respect to what white women have done in the United States, in respect to the harm that they have caused in the United States through sometimes by directing men, and they didn't always sit in this quiet softness like people pretend that they did, but they had the protection and the filter to push that through the men, whereas Black women often had to stand up for themselves, because the men were in the same position as them for so long, right? Like they were both subjugated. They were both, you know what I mean? He had no more power than she did.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that now when we go forward in time, right? Black American women are tired of everyone's shit.
Yeah.
And not all of them. There's plenty of pygmies, but there are plenty of women who are just like, you know what? all that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And they've had to do all the things. They've had to still, lead fatherless homes. And not just because of what society has done in America to the Black communities, but because Black men have not come back, Black American men have not come back and said, let's
take over.
Yeah, like let's try and, actually be equals. They want to have those kind of ideas that they see or they think white men have, even though a lot of times white women are running shit from behind the scenes and using their men to do a lot of, a lot of the damage that's done too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this idea of femininity and softness in America has always pitted dark against light. So all of these kind of ideas. And what I think softness has come to mean in a lot of instances are women who can take a punch and be quiet about it.
But you see, for me, that is not what softness is about. That's being weak and not being able to, because I think they're interchanged oftentimes, softness and weakness. You can be a strong woman who stands up for herself, but still be soft. Because when you're a soft woman, or if you tap into your femininity, you also know how to deliver a strong message. It's a strong message, but even your delivery is different.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You get what I mean?
I know what
how
you
you
mean.
deliver your message, how you receive messages, is different.
But let me ask you this: where is femininity actually celebrated? Because if we look at how we talk about femininity, if we look at how we talk about the idea of the feminine in general, it's often demonized. Like the first thing you want to do to insult a man is call him feminine.
Because he's a man.
It doesn't matter. Everyone has feminine and masculine qualities.
Yeah, but your masculine qualities should be the one standing out if you're a man.
It doesn't matter.
You think?
I really don't think. And I think that, and this is probably me being one of those people who are very open. You're African, so there's a whole line drawn in Africa, I feel like. I think that if we're evolving as people, right?
Yeah.
And we both have masculine and feminine qualities.
We all do.
We all do.
We all do.
We all do. The man doesn't have to be feminine to be insulted by calling him feminine. You know what I mean? So
your question is more like, why are you insulted if someone highlights that you have the feminine?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If femininity is special, if it's not, you know what I mean?
Okay, I get what you mean. You're trying to
It's
explain
demonized,
why
period.
femininity is not really looked at as this great thing
Exactly.
until it serves
a man.
Okay.
And even when women are overly feminine, they're bothered by it. Too frilly, too this. You know what I mean? Like they're overly bothered by a woman who would. If I tell someone oh, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm too.
Other
women
are bothered by the femininity of another woman.
Exactly. So, and I will say socially, femininity in general is demonized. And that's why even with women, even with other women in a lot of instances, if you're too feminine or you're too soft, people will demonize that.
So I'll beg to differ, especially from where I come from. From where I come from, femininity and softness is not really demonized, but there are accolades that are given to the strong woman who has taken the hardest beating. Okay, when they describe a successful woman, she went through so much, and I'm like, where are we talking about all she went through for her to be? Where is we talking about her just being a soft woman and living her best life? Why is it that it's the hard stuff and the suffering that has to be, looked at as successful and powerful? So I get what you're saying. But then for us, as African women, and of course I know Africa is not a continent. I'm speaking as a Ugandan woman, but many of these things run across the continent. We are taught to tap into that softness from when we are children, but we have a different history. The African man is taught to protect and to be the leader for the women, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a partner. I'm talking about our brothers. If anything happens to you, your brothers, your uncles are going to be there to fight for you, to protect you. So you have the opportunity to kind of step back, and be taken care of, which maybe in a different setup back in the States, could be different. Black women have had to fight for themselves.
But they've they've had to fight for themselves, and in many instances fight against the men, even the ones in their house.
So you see, that's the problem. If the man who is supposed to protect you, provide for you, is not doing that, you can't tap into your femininity, and you can't be soft. Soft for what? For who? How?
Because the thing is, and I'm curious about this, because I feel like, especially in the United States, and this isn't something that I would say is just for Black women, but historically, most women have to protect themselves from the men in the house, from the fathers and the brothers who might assault them sexually. The daughters might get assaulted by the father, for example. And this isn't just Black women, Black American women. This is something that has gone on in America. So even in the sense of how these women had to learn to protect themselves in their homes from the men who are supposed to protect them, they develop, I would say it's not necessarily not softness, but it's something that you needed to hide.
Yeah. You like a sort of wall to protect yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, because the women are always going to be the blame for anything a man does against them.
Which, to be fair, that happens back in Africa as well. It's just that these things are not talked about much. They happen, but they're not talked about to preserve the whole protector
image.
Yeah. So there is that. There is that also with the African woman. There is always an image to keep and protect.
I see.
Yeah. There is always the image of what kind of woman are you? How were you raised? And so you have to do, and that's the other thing, the softness that I think African women have is taught. It's not one of those for some people, yes, obviously. It's not the natural, I want to be soft because the environment and, is allowing me to be and I'm being appreciated. It's because that's what I'm told to do. Because that's what we are told. We are told to be soft, to be humble, to just be chill.
But to me, that falls into take it.
It does. In many ways, it does. In many ways, it does. An African woman will not easily leave a marriage because you don't do that. So what's the problem? Just listen to what your husband is saying. So even if he's talking trash, even if he's beating you, even if he's abusing you in many different ways, you are told to kind of not reciprocate or not to,
But see, that starts to fall in line with what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That starts to fall in line with, because there is this idea that even in that you're strong because you're dealing with it, right? You have to carry.
But it's not a good strong.
It's not a good strong.
It's not a good strong.
But most strength isn't. Most of the things that people will say, oh my, whenever you look at a woman and people are like, my God, she's so strong, it's after she's been beaten, all that shit.
I've always said that. Whenever people describe, it comes back to what I was telling you about. Whenever people describe, oh, that woman, you have no idea the things she's been through. She shouldn't have to go through all that to be, to be the strong woman and the,
So this is my thing. If men really liked soft women, why don't they create environments for women to be soft in? Instead, they create scary places for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the home gets scary when you have predators you know, as an uncle or a brother or whatever. Outside is scary because these motherfuckers are crazy, right? So they don't even create environments where women can actually be soft, especially in the United States. There's not been men who came in and finally was like, let me give this bitch a break. You know what I mean? Like they don't.
And that's why even when it comes to men recently saying, oh, many of these women are not marriage material, they cannot be submissive, they cannot be soft, they cannot be, I'm like, you know what? All that comes because there is that environment that lets it. Every woman can be feminine, can be that woman, that so-called woman that you want, but you have to provide the environment for it to thrive, for it to you know.
Exactly. And instead, what they even stay-at-home moms, even like this is a funny story. When I first you know, started living with Mateo, and you know, I had never been a stay-at-home anything before. You know, we hadn't had kids yet, so I was kind of like, oh, what am I supposed to do? I guess I'm supposed to clean and do shit, right? So
what does a stay-at-home mom do?
Right, I wasn't even a mom yet, so I was like stay-at-home girlfriend.
What am I supposed to do?
Exactly. So I was like, well.
So you see, that's sorry to interrupt you. So you see, you didn't even know what to do with that environment that lets you just just be
exactly.
Which for me, that's also softness. Being.
Yes.
Just being you.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. That's the softness and that confidence and being the person you are. That's when you're allowed to be soft. You know what I mean? And so I was like, it was like one day, so I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna clean, right? I'm gonna clean the apartment. So I cleaned the apartment, and he made this comment, and he was like, oh wow, you're the queen of the house today. And I was like,
because
what?
I cleaned that apartment.
Exactly. I was like, what did you say to me? And he was like, what? I was like, what queen do you know cleans her own fucking castle?
You're right.
And he was like, we got a cleaning lady. Because I'm like, if I'm the queen, why am I doing this?
Right.
So I think that, you know, women have been told this bring to the table thing, right? We have to be laboring all the time. Even if we're supposed to be soft, stay-at-home moms, it's about labor.
But I think so that's the difference between the African setup and the in some ways, in many ways, the African setup allows you to tap into that. It allows you to be to an extent, because most times the African men are going to provide, and they'll let you kind of just be who you want to be. They'll give you the support, even if you're not the one doing the cleaning. There'll be someone helping you with the cleaning, and they won't judge you for that, you know. So you don't feel like you have to prove that you have to prove to be something.
Right. You have to prove that you're a good mom by laboring or whatever.
No. Okay. You have to prove that you're a good mom by being present for your kids and having the house in order. But you don't even necessarily have to do it, because the African man will even provide the help you need to do these things. Yeah. So I think because we have the support to an extent. I don't want to generalize, you know, but because we have the support, it lets you to an extent
be softer. Yeah. And I think that right now more Black American women are trying to say, I'm not going to be bothered with all that and sit in my femininity, even if that means I'm being by myself. And in response,
which you can do.
Yes.
I can sit in my femininity on my own.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be connected to a man. And I think that's the point we're trying to make from the beginning.
Yeah.
Why does my softness and femininity have to depend on the man?
Exactly. Or it's sometimes like when it's men involved, it's always like the labor you provide for them.
What are you bringing?
Yes. What are you giving him that makes his life easier in some way? They think that if, as a stay-at-home mom, they think that you don't do anything. I don't even know what exactly people think, but I should be allowed to have space for myself, even if I'm not working outside of the house. I should be allowed that. And a lot of times it doesn't seem that in the States that men, if you have a woman at home, that they necessarily think that, okay, you should have a cleaner,
right?
Or you should take a break.
It's a different setup, you know.
No, but I mean, I just think that they look at women for labor.
Yeah.
They don't look at them necessarily for the companionship of someone soft and feminine.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that it's difficult for an African American woman to let a man lead?
No.
Because the other African American women I've talked to, it always feels like there's a competition. I don't want to call it a competition because I'm not African American, so correct me if I'm wrong. But it always feels like there is a power struggle.
I think men are competing with women.
Why though?
I think that because Black American women are becoming far more advanced than Black American men.
And their ego is not sitting well with it.
No. They're more educated, they're making more money, they're winning at capitalism better than a lot of Black American men have been winning at capitalism in the United States, which is what the game is, you know what I mean? And women have now been like, well, if I'm making this amount of money, I'm buying my house, and then you show up and you want to drive my car and you want to borrow money and you want to do these things, and no, why? And
that explains, because then in Africa it's a bit different. The women we're still living in a really men's world. So
I mean, I think that's the thing though. Black American women are too, and they're thriving more than a lot of Black American men are, because they are doing the work, they're doing healing work, they're paying attention to their own shit. Whereas a lot of these men just blame women for their problems, either because they don't have one, they can't get one, they had one, and she the thing that is hilarious to me is when I talk to some men and they tell me these stories, like, this woman, she broke my heart and I've never been the same since, and they're like, oh my God, what? And then he's like, well, in Mrs. Cutler's class, like, wait a minute, were you in school? You're talking about a child, you were children, you're talking about when you were 16, and now you're 28, and you're still talking about this girl.
You haven't done the work.
You haven't done the work.
You haven't done the work.
And so I think that is part of that. And then the second part is that the thing where I talk about women having to protect themselves, they pass that down to their daughters.
Yeah.
And so as women have been evolving and knowing how to protect themselves in the newer and newer environments, it's been like, go to school, get an education, worry about dudes later, because all of them are full of shit. You know what I mean?
It also comes down to what we're being taught by the the earlier generations, because for us it's not really like that. Yeah, be independent. Now very many women are teaching their daughters to be independent. That's what we want our children to start seeing more of, than the woman who was at home and didn't have a say. That's what we're trying to teach now. But most likely in most homes, the woman is going to be taught more to be a good wife, be a good partner, to let the man lead. You understand?
See, there's no men to lead. Or where they gonna lead you to hell? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not following you to hell.
And we have deadbeats. We have many deadbeats. There's so many single moms. But even the single mom, ironically, is gonna teach you to be this marriage material. So I don't know about the States, but in Africa we have this talk about she's not marriage material, and like you said, it comes down to how much shit can she take. That is marriage material.
Exactly. And that's what men want when they talk about softness from a lot of women, especially when they start looking at women like this. This is another example in the States particularly. One of the things that you will find is when men really pour into women, they really love them, they really talk positively to other men about their girl, he's a simp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that is another way that they demonize softness and femininity, and even loving a woman.
Yeah.
Like
loving too much.
How you if you're loving your woman, and that means she's giving you love and you're giving him love, and then these dudes over here, and men are not playing to the women; they're playing to the dudes. They're more interested in getting that male
in what the friends think, in what the male group thinks.
Exactly. Yeah. And so even in that, you don't appreciate that woman. Because if you need male validation to love a woman, you love that man more than you love that woman. Go be with dude. Like, so I don't see men, and again, men have to create the environments.
But do you think that if the environment is created, let's talk about individuals. If an individual went and met a man who creates that environment for them, are they willing? Are they open? Because for me, softness is also the willingness. Because we have seen and heard of women, if we're being honest here, who, if a man comes and tries to help them out, they're like, oh, so you think I can't do it on my own? You know, you have your guard up all the time, ready to fight people who are actually trying to be nice to you because you think, oh, they're gonna think I'm soft.
It's not that.
So it goes back to what I was telling you about receiving.
I don't think it's that they think that man's gonna think I'm soft. I think that
you're afraid that he may
they're afraid
pull away after.
No, I think they're afraid of the man. Period.
Like what's your intention?
Yeah, like what is your intention? Because most men are not doing anything just to be nice.
So that's the thing. For me, softness is also being vulnerable.
You can't be vulnerable to all these.
But that means you have your guard up, that means it's probably true that you become then less soft because you always have a guard up.
Here's the thing.
There is some truth to it.
But men have created an environment where it's dangerous for us to be vulnerable
and I get
to strangers. That. If I will tell you right now, when I'm out and a man approaches me, especially if I have my kids, I'm like, what you want? Because this is one of the most vulnerable periods for me right now. I have 2 small children with me, and for some reason you're coming up to me. I don't trust you. What do you want? I am not open to every person just because they decide they want to be nice in this moment. Society has not created
that
an environment. You know what I mean? In general, so a man,
you don't feel safe enough to let yourself go like that.
Exactly, and I think any man who actually understands what women deal with cannot judge her for that.
Right.
Because it's in a danger. We get essayed by strangers. You can be walking down the street, smile, girl, and you just like, oh, what's wrong with you? I was reading this freaking Reddit thing, and it was like a grown-ass man saw a 15-year-old girl. He didn't know who she was. Basically, he said hello to her. She looked and she didn't feel, like she had to look. He's describing this. She looked like she was, scared. She said hello. She kept walking, so he decided to follow her to freak her out.
Why would you do that?
Because he thought he was an incel, and he thought it was, he got a thrill from seeing her scared. Damn. Men do not create the environment, so they cannot.
You cannot demand softness when you haven't created this environment for it.
Then you see the men in the comments who's cheering this kind of behavior on.
Incels.
Exactly.
Right.
And so there's so many. And that's what I'm saying. If a man is truly seeing the world where men have created dangerous situations for women to be vulnerable when they're out by themselves, don't come up to me, and if I am unwilling to talk to you, walk away.
Yeah.
So I think that, don't keep saying, well, I'm just trying to help you. That's great, sir, but I can do this by myself. I don't know your intentions, because
that is when then they think, oh, she's not soft because she's not letting. But do you think this whole femininity and softness thing is going to create a problem for women and put them in unsafe situations, in abusive situations?
They already are. I mean, like I said, most women haven't been safe in their own homes.
Yeah.
From the men who are supposed to protect them. So why would I go out and talk to some stranger?
You wouldn't give your softness femininity to a stranger, but if someone creates the environment for you to do it, are you happy to do it?
Oh, for sure.
But you don't think that there's enough of that?
No, even in people's homes.
If we look different, it's because we've changed cameras. But anyway, you know what would be interesting, G?
What?
To see you dating an African man, like
seriously,
yeah.
if I were
yeah, if you aren't already partnered, I think that would be interesting, because I would like to see if your attitude towards the whole femininity and softness would be different in a different environment.
It would be interesting, because I've not dated an African man seriously. I've gone out with one African guy. One African guy hit on me and told me how many cows and chickens he could get in his village for me or something. And I was like, I don't even know what that means, sir. Leave me alone. But it was funny. It was a funny thing to say.
But the question still remains. Do you think that African women, the narrative is true, this truth to the African woman being softer?
No,
the African American.
I don't think that they are softer. I think that they have accepted things differently than African American women.
Okay.
I think that they deal with a lot of similar things, but they've accepted it in a different way, and people describe that as softer.
And the last question: do you think that being in an interracial relationship makes you also receive and behave differently to this whole softness thing?
No, I don't think it's because it's interracial. I will say that because, my partner's Italian and he would labor me to death if I let him. I think that it's me being able to say what my boundaries are.
Okay, what you're happy with and what you're not.
Yeah.
And I've been leaning a lot into that.
Because I've realized, if I want a softer life, I got to create for myself. A man is not going to facilitate my softness. Yeah. He might facilitate it financially, but I have to be the one to say, no, that's my limit.
From within.
Exactly. I have 2 cleaners that come during the week. I have these things where I am not going to be laboring for men all the time. You
set yourself up in a way that lets you tap into your femininity and your softness.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So anyway, guys, this was an interesting video.
Yeah, and I got to tell her about this fine African man that I did see, that if I was going to be tempted.
You're married, girl.
If I was going to be tempted. I'm just saying, Lord have mercy. I was like, I have not seen something look like that walking down the street.
If we have African American men watching this, leave us your 2 cents. Don't trash us because we say what we say.
I'm just going to say, you start with me in the comments. It is not going to go well for you. She'll let you know, because I will read you one.
She will, no doubt. And if we have people who have experienced different, softness, femininity seasons in their lives, would like to hear about that. Just to have a different perspective on, and your thoughts on this. If you want a part 2, we are always here chit-chatting on and off camera. We love making these videos and interacting with you guys in the comment section. So remember to subscribe to G's channel. We'll be posting these videos at the same time in both our channels. So go to her channel and check out her videos, and
Yep. And this is Linda. Guys, definitely subscribe to her channel. Great content. I love the fun stuff that she does. I talk about a lot of more serious stuff, I think.
Yeah, but very honest conversations.
Yeah.
And if this is a video that you like, you'll definitely like many of the videos she makes on her channel, because she really touches on sensitive topics, and she's saying it all.
So guys,
unfiltered.
Yes, definitely.
So guys, see you in the next one.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye.